We're going to dive deep into 7 habits that completely transformed my life in just 1 week. Yes, you heard that right, 1 week. I know it might sound too good to be true, but I assure you these are not just the typical surface-level tips you hear everywhere. These are raw, real, and honest habits that I personally integrated into my daily routine. I went through the struggles, the moments of doubt, the breakthroughs, and ultimately, a transformation that was nothing short of amazing. I can't wait to share these habits with you because they've had such a profound impact on my life. I believe they can do the same for you. Whether your goal is to boost productivity, improve your mental health, or simply make a positive shift in your daily routine, these habits can help you get there. So grab a cup of coffee, get comfortable, and let's dive in. Trust me, you'll want to stick around until the end because these aren't just ideas. These are practical and actionable steps that you can start implementing today. I'll also be sharing personal stories and insights from my own experience, giving you a behind-the-scenes look at how these habits actually played out for me. Habit 1, waking up early. The first habit that changed my life was waking up early. And let me be completely honest with you, I was never a morning person. My bed was my best friend, and I used to hit the snooze button more times than I could count. Most mornings were chaotic, and I often felt like I was starting my day already behind. But one day I decided to give it a try. I committed to waking up earlier, and to my surprise, it became a game changer. I began by setting my alarm for 5 a.m. Those first few mornings were brutal. I dragged myself out of bed feeling groggy and wondered if it was really worth the effort. But I stayed with it, and by the third day, something incredible started to happen. I began to appreciate the quiet and stillness of those early hours. There was something almost magical about being awake before the rest of the world. Everything felt calm and peaceful. With those extra hours, I was finally able to do things I never seemed to have time for. I started my mornings with light exercise, not anything intense, just some stretching or a short jog around the neighborhood. It helped wake me up and gave me a natural boost of energy for the rest of the day. I also spent a few minutes meditating and setting intentions. Those moments of mindfulness made a huge difference in how I approached the rest of my day. Another benefit of waking up early was that I no longer felt rushed. I had time to enjoy a healthy breakfast, sip my coffee slowly, and plan my day without stress. That calm, unrushed start set the tone for everything that followed. I felt more organized, more in control, and much less overwhelmed. There's one moment that really stands out to me. One morning I watched the sunrise from my balcony. It was a simple moment, but so powerful. As the sky changed colors and the world slowly came to life, I felt an overwhelming sense of peace and gratitude. It was then I truly understood the power of waking up early. Now I understand that waking up at 5 a.m. might not be realistic for everyone. But even if you start by waking up just 15 minutes earlier than usual, it can make a difference. The goal isn't to have more time just for the sake of it. It's about creating time and space to start your day with intention, clarity, and peace. When you own your mornings, you gain control over your entire day. That small shift, waking up just a bit earlier, became the foundation for so many other positive changes in my life. And it all began with the decision to stop hitting snooze and start facing the day with purpose. Habit 2, daily exercise. The second habit that truly transformed my life was incorporating daily exercise. Now I'll be upfront, I wasn't always an active person. In fact, I used to come up with every excuse in the book to avoid working out. I'd tell myself I'm too tired, I don't have time, or I'll start tomorrow. Sound familiar? But one day I hit a breaking point. I decided enough was enough. I made a promise to myself that I would move my body every single day for just 1 week and see what happened. What followed was nothing short of amazing. I started small, just 20 minutes a day. I rotated between activities to keep it interesting. Yoga one day, a light jog the next, and some simple strength training exercises on another. My goal wasn't perfection. It was consistency. I wanted to build a habit, not burn out. The first few days were rough. My muscles were sore and I felt drained. There were moments I wanted to quit, but I reminded myself why I started. I wasn't doing this to impress anyone or achieve instant results. I was doing it to feel better mentally, emotionally, and physically. By the 4th day, I woke up with more energy. I noticed I was in a better mood. I wasn't as irritable and I felt more optimistic overall. I realized that those 20 minutes of daily movement weren't just about calories or building muscle. They were about giving myself time. It became my daily reset, a moment to disconnect from everything and focus purely on myself. One morning stands out in particular. It was cool and clear outside. I laced up my sneakers and went for a jog. There was nothing special about the route, but something about that morning, the rhythm of my breath, the feel of the pavement beneath my feet, the stillness of the world around me brought a sense of freedom and clarity I hadn't felt in a long time. It was just me and the road, and in that moment, everything felt right. Along the way, I also tried yoga for the first time. I was hesitant at first, thinking I wasn't flexible enough or that it wouldn't be a real workout. But after a few sessions, I was hooked. Yoga taught me to slow down, breathe deeply, and listen to my body. It became more than just physical movement. It became a tool for mindfulness and self-awareness. As I continued, I started noticing physical improvements too. My posture got better. I felt stronger, more capable. But the biggest shift was in my mindset. Exercise stopped feeling like a chore and started to feel like a gift, something I gave to myself each day. It wasn't about punishment or pushing limits. It was about care, energy, and reconnection. There was also a mental transformation happening. I found myself being more productive, more focused, and even sleeping better. It wasn't just the exercise itself, it was the message I was sending to myself by showing up every day. You matter. Your well-being matters. Of course, not every day was perfect. There were mornings I didn't want to move, but even on those days, I reminded myself that something, even a walk around the block or a gentle stretch, was better than nothing. I wasn't aiming for intensity, I was building a new relationship with movement. If you're like I was and struggling to get started, here's my advice. Start small. You don't need a gym membership or fancy equipment. You just need commitment and curiosity. Try different things: dancing, hiking, walking, swimming, whatever makes you feel alive. Even 10 minutes a day is enough to start changing your life. What matters most is that you show up, not just for your body, but for your mind, your energy, and your future self. That one small habit of daily movement became a powerful turning point for me, and I truly believe it can be for you too. Habit 3, journaling. The third habit that transformed my life was journaling. To be completely honest, I never thought journaling would be for me. I assumed it was something only people with too much free time or a naturally introspective personality did. I couldn't imagine sitting down to write about my day when there were always 100 other things demanding my attention. But I decided to give it a fair shot. Just 1 week of writing a little each day, and that simple commitment completely shifted my perspective. I kept things as simple as possible. Each night before bed, I set aside 10 minutes to write. I bought a plain notebook and a pen that felt good in my hand. I didn't worry about formatting, grammar, or even whether what I was writing made sense. This wasn't about perfection, it was about expression. No fancy journals, no digital apps, just a quiet moment between me and the page. That first night, I stared at the blank paper, not knowing what to say. So I started with something easy. I wrote about how my day went, what made me smile, what frustrated me, and what I hoped tomorrow would bring. As the days went by, I began to go deeper. I started writing about my goals, my fears, and my insecurities. I wrote about what I wanted in life, what was holding me back, and what I was proud of. Little by little, journaling became like a conversation with myself, one I didn't even know I needed. One of the most powerful parts of the practice was how it helped me process emotions. On stressful days, writing allowed me to release what I had been holding in. I remember one night in particular, after a long, frustrating day at work. I poured my thoughts onto the page: what went wrong, how it made me feel, and how I could handle similar situations better in the future. By the end of that entry, I felt lighter and clearer, like I had made sense of something that had been weighing me down. Another unexpected benefit was recognizing patterns in my thinking and behavior. Over the week, I noticed I kept writing about the same small stresses or recurring doubts. Becoming aware of these patterns helped me approach them differently. Some things were completely outside of my control, but others were areas where I could take simple, actionable steps to improve my mindset and choices. I also began tracking small wins. I wrote about achievements that may have seemed minor at the time, like completing a tough workout, handling a difficult conversation, or simply sticking to my morning routine. When I looked back on those entries, I felt proud of my progress. It reminded me that growth doesn't always come in big leaps. Sometimes it shows up in quiet, consistent effort. One of the most meaningful additions to my journaling habit was creating a gratitude section. Every night I wrote down 3 things I was grateful for. Some days it was something big like a supportive conversation or an exciting opportunity. Other times it was something simple like a delicious cup of coffee or a kind gesture from a stranger. This daily focus on gratitude helped me shift my attention away from what was missing and toward what I already had. It brought more peace and positivity into my daily life. Journaling became more than a habit. It became a safe space for reflection, clarity, and emotional release. It helped me slow down and be more intentional with my thoughts. It also gave me a chance to understand myself on a deeper level. If you've never tried journaling, I encourage you to start. Don't worry about writing perfectly or having something profound to say. Just begin with what's on your mind. Write freely without judgment. You might be surprised by how powerful it can be. Even 10 minutes a day can bring remarkable clarity and a stronger connection with yourself. Habit 4. Mindful eating. The fourth habit that made a major impact on my life was mindful eating. Before this experience, I rarely thought about how or why I ate. Like many people, I often ate on the go at my desk or while scrolling through my phone. Meals became background noise rather than something I truly experienced. I didn't realize how disconnected I was from the food I consumed until I decided to try mindful eating for 1 week. That simple decision changed the way I relate to food and to myself. Mindful eating is about being fully present during meals. It means paying attention not only to the flavors and textures, but also to the emotions and signals your body gives you before, during, and after eating. It's a way to build a healthier, more conscious relationship with food without diets, restrictions, or guilt. I started by setting the tone for my meals. I cleared my table, put my phone in another room, and turned off the TV. At first, it felt strange to sit in silence with just my plate, but I quickly began to appreciate the calm. I took a few deep breaths before each meal to center myself and bring my full attention to the moment. What surprised me most was how much more I enjoyed my food. I started noticing details I had never paid attention to before. The crispness of fresh vegetables, the warmth of a perfectly cooked grain, the subtle sweetness in fruit, they all came alive when I took the time to slow down and savor each bite. Foods I had eaten 100 times suddenly tasted better because I was actually present. Another powerful shift was in how much I ate. I realized that eating quickly often led me to overeat. My body didn't have time to signal when it was full, so I kept going out of habit. By eating slowly and paying attention to hunger and fullness cues, I began to feel satisfied with smaller portions. I didn't feel stuffed or uncomfortable. I felt nourished. One experience that stood out to me was a simple bowl of oatmeal. Normally, I would have eaten it while checking emails or planning my day. But this time I sat down with intention. I noticed the creamy texture, the warmth, and the subtle sweetness from the honey I had drizzled on top. That ordinary breakfast turned into a moment of calm gratitude and awareness that carried into the rest of my day. Mindful eating also helped me become more aware of emotional eating. I started to notice when I was reaching for snacks out of boredom, stress, or habit, not because I was actually hungry. That realization gave me space to pause and ask myself what I really needed in that moment. Sometimes it wasn't food at all. Maybe I needed rest, connection, or a break from my screen. Recognizing those emotional triggers helped me respond to my needs more intentionally. Over the course of the week, I also began noticing how different foods made me feel. Heavier processed meals often left me sluggish, while fresh whole foods gave me energy and focus. I didn't force myself to eat perfectly, but I naturally started choosing options that made me feel good. Mindful eating isn't about being strict or turning every meal into a ritual. It's about creating small, intentional moments to reconnect with your body and the nourishment it needs. If you want to try it, start with just 1 meal a day. Remove distractions, take a few breaths, and eat slowly. Notice the taste, the texture, and how the food makes you feel. This habit brought me a deeper sense of appreciation, not just for food, but for the act of taking care of myself. It reminded me that eating is more than a task. It can be a meaningful, nourishing experience if we allow it to be. Habit 5, limiting screen time. The fifth habit that made a huge difference in my life was limiting screen time. This was one of the most challenging changes to make, and I imagine it might be for many people as well. In today's world, we are constantly surrounded by screens, phones, laptops, tablets, and TVs. It's easy to fall into the trap of scrolling endlessly, binge-watching shows, or checking notifications every few minutes. I didn't realize just how much time I was spending on screens until I made the decision to set clear boundaries. I started by setting a limit of 1 hour per day for non-work related screen time. That meant no aimless scrolling through social media, no watching YouTube videos late into the night, and no background television while doing other things. At first, this felt incredibly uncomfortable. I had become so used to filling every spare moment with digital content that being without it felt strange and even a little unsettling. But once I got through those first few days, I noticed something amazing. I had so much more time. Time I didn't even realize I had been losing. Instead of reaching for my phone out of habit, I began using that space for activities I had neglected. I picked up a book I had been meaning to read for months. I found myself doodling and sketching, again, something I used to love. I even started experimenting with cooking new recipes, something I had never really taken the time to enjoy before. One evening, instead of watching TV after dinner, like I usually did, I took a walk through the park. The fresh air, the sound of birds, the rustling of trees, it was simple but deeply refreshing. That walk quickly became one of my favorite parts of the day. It gave me time to clear my head, reconnect with nature, and move my body. None of those benefits would have happened if I had remained glued to a screen. Another huge change I noticed was in my sleep. Before this habit, I used to take my phone to bed thinking it helped me wind down. But in reality, the constant stimulation from scrolling and watching videos kept my mind wired. I would often lay awake for a while feeling restless and overstimulated. Once I stopped using screens before bed, I was able to fall asleep faster and experience deeper, more restful sleep. I created a calming nighttime routine that included reading a physical book, doing a short meditation, and reflecting on my day, all without any screens. It made a huge difference in how I felt the next morning. My mental health improved too. Without the constant flood of new social media, comparisons, and digital distractions, I felt more grounded. I noticed I was less anxious, more present, and more in tune with the world around me. I had better conversations. I listened more attentively. I felt connected not through a device, but through real experiences. One of my favorite moments from that week was when I spent an entire afternoon at a local cafe with nothing but a notebook and a pen. No phone, no laptop, just my thoughts. I wrote down goals, brainstormed ideas, and even sketched for fun. That peaceful afternoon reminded me how powerful it can be to unplug and just be. Of course, there were moments when I slipped up. There were times I reached for my phone out of habit, but each time I caught myself, I paused and remembered why I started this challenge. I reminded myself of the benefits I was experiencing: more time, better sleep, greater focus, and stronger mental clarity, and gently redirected my attention back to something more meaningful. Limiting screen time doesn't mean you have to cut out technology completely. It's about being intentional. It's about recognizing when screens are serving you and when they are stealing your time and peace. If you find yourself feeling overwhelmed, distracted, or disconnected, I highly encourage you to try setting some screen time boundaries. Start small. Reduce your screen use by just 30 minutes a day. Use that extra time to read, go for a walk, call a friend, or simply sit in silence and reflect. You might be surprised by how much richer and more fulfilling life becomes when you step away from the noise and reconnect with the present moment. This habit helped me reclaim time, improve my well-being, and rediscover the joy of simple things. It reminded me that sometimes the best way to move forward is to disconnect in order to truly reconnect with yourself and with life. If you're feeling disconnected, unproductive, or emotionally drained, the habits shared above are powerful tools you can begin applying to your current life right now. Start by choosing one habit, just one that resonates with your present needs. Maybe you've been feeling mentally cluttered, in which case journaling for just 10 minutes a night can help you clear your thoughts, understand your emotions, and track your personal growth. If your mornings feel rushed and stressful, try waking up just 15 minutes earlier. Use that time for light stretching, a quiet cup of coffee, or setting intentions for the day. These small changes create a sense of control, peace, and momentum that can shift the direction of your life. Or if you're overwhelmed by constant digital noise, set simple screen time boundaries. Turn off unnecessary notifications, step away from social media for a while, and reclaim your attention. The benefits are immediate: more time, clearer thinking, and better sleep. Mindful eating is another beautiful entry point into change. Turn off distractions, slow down at your meals, and actually savor your food. This not only improves digestion, but also helps you tune into your physical and emotional needs. And don't forget the importance of daily movement. You don't need to go to the gym or run 5 miles. A 20-minute walk, some yoga at home, or dancing to your favorite music can radically boost your mood and energy. The key to all of this is consistency, not perfection. These habits are not quick fixes. They're lifestyle anchors that help you feel grounded, present, and in control. Even just trying one habit for 1 week can bring powerful results. You'll feel more connected to your body, your thoughts, and your purpose. So don't wait. Choose a starting point that feels right and begin with small, consistent steps. The transformation doesn't happen all at once, but it begins the moment you decide to take action. Your life is shaped by what you do daily. Let today be the day you take it back.